Good morning, everybody. The United Kingdom is lurching towards being a police state. And another thing is happening that is taking us in the direction. And that is the installation of two permanent live facial recognition cameras by the Metropolitan Police in the borough of Croydon, actually in Croydon town centre. This is a new thing. Now, the police have been using live facial recognition since 2016 in various places. You might not know that. I'm completely opposed to this because the police should not be able to try to identify someone or should not be able to identify you if you haven't been convicted or suspected of committing a crime. The trouble with live facial recognition is that it identifies everybody, including the 99.9% of people who are just going about their business in a town centre on a Saturday morning or afternoon or whenever, and are not going there with the intent of committing a crime. They collect data on all of us and all of our movements. Now, they say that they will delete the data if it's not deemed to be useful. If it's they find out that all of the people that they've collected facial recognition data on, most of them are not going there to a town centre or wherever the cameras are to commit a crime. So they will delete that. But the thing is, they collect the data anyway, and we should have the right to privacy. That actually is enshrined in the European Convention on Human Rights. And that's another thing that I don't agree with. But the people who are pushing all of this in the establishment all want us to stay in the ECHR, which gives us the right to privacy. But then on the other hand, they are trying to push out this live facial recognition in the UK through the various police forces in the various counties and areas where they exist. So these two permanent cameras are due to be installed in North End and London Road in Croydon later on this year. And I'm making this video in 2025. So in the summer of 2025, they'll be rolled out. But as I've said, different police forces, only a few of them at the moment. I think there's 45 police forces in England and Wales. Altogether, I might be one or two out on that. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But so far, 6 of them have experimented with live facial recognition technology, and 2 of them actually use them all the time, in their everyday business. Actually, I think 3 now. So the first force which actually started this was South Wales. They employed live facial recognition back in 2016 at certain football matches and concerts. Then closely on their heels was the Metropolitan Police using them at Notting Hill Carnival. Now, I'm no fan of Notting Hill Carnival. There's all kinds of crime that goes on there, but we shouldn't use an extreme case in order to roll something out that affects everybody in the population, including the vast majority of people who are not out to commit a crime in public. Then there are other police forces that have joined in. Northamptonshire police force employed it at Silverstone at the Grand Prix racing. Essex has trialed it and they use it very regularly. I know in Southend they go out every weekend now with live facial recognition vans with cameras on the top. They park them in the centre of Southend in certain areas, and then they just film everything and get people's details and data and biometric. They use people's biometric data to identify people there. I know in Southend, probably in other places in Essex as well. Hampshire and Bedfordshire also use this technology as well in certain areas, and they're trialing it at the moment. So that's 6 police forces that do it. 3 of them, to my understanding, use them as a matter of course routinely. Now, what the proponents of this say is that, well, it helps us to catch criminals. Okay, of course they're going to say that, But why do we need this new technology which invades people's privacy and collects people's data without them knowing most of the time? Because if you walk through a town centre like Southend Town Centre, or now to be Croydon Town Centre, you don't know if you are going to be filmed, and the police are going to use live facial recognition technology to analyze your biometrics and identify you without your knowledge. This is where it's wrong, and this is where it fundamentally changes the relationship between the police and the citizens, between the state and the people, in a way which is dangerous and arguably tyrannical, or can lead to tyranny anyway in the future. We don't want this to be ramped up into some kind of social credit system like they have in China, where they look at everybody and they see, you do something which is lawful, but someone doesn't like it. Like they might catch you holding a sign up which is pro-life, or holding a sign up which is critical of transgenderism, whatever, and straight away you get a strike, you get recognized, and then that's the information is then given to people who look after your finances. Who knows how this technology can be used, and probably will be used in the future. That's the danger of it. That's where it's going. But of course, people are saying, how could anyone be against this? Because it helps us to catch criminals. It makes the country more safe. Well, let's have a look at the crime statistics in England and Wales over the last 20 years. So we can see here from left to right, it was going up a little bit this is from 2002 to 2005. That was after, there was an increase that goes back beyond the beginning of this chart. But then from 2004 to 2005 down to 2012-13, there was actually a decrease in crimes against the person. These are violent crimes, all violent crimes against the person, including murder, homicide, rape, assault, battery, anything of that nature, all together. But then from 2013, 2014, crimes against the person have skyrocketed. They've actually tripled in that 10-year period, up to a peak of 2022 to 2023, and is still high in 23, 24, and who knows what they're going to be this year, 24, 25. So this was at the time when this facial recognition technology is being rolled out. Started in 2016. It hasn't had any effect on the crime figures. They've been going up. So this is perhaps an excuse. They're saying we need facial recognition technology to deal with this high crime. But what's the reason for the crime going up in the first place, from a low in about 2013 up to a high in 2023, which is probably going to be maintained at the moment? Well, the answer, of course, is obvious, because this was when migration continued. We've already been in a program of replacement migration, but from this time, from this kind of era, 2013, 14, 15, the migration from third world countries, especially disturbed criminal elements from third world countries, was facilitated and is rocketed in that time, not just in the UK, but all over Europe. You see the same thing happening in the UK and France and Germany and the Netherlands and Sweden and Belgium and Canada and the United States and Australia, all countries which have had governments that have facilitated military-aged men coming into the country in large numbers, tens or hundreds of thousands of people, and many of them are criminals, and they have criminal intent, and they have a different understanding, a different psyche, and they have no problem in committing crimes against the person, whether it's rape or murder or knifing, stabbing someone, or battery or assault. And this is why crimes against the person have gone up in that 10-year period. So this is a classic problem, reaction, solution. The governments, whether they're centre right or centre left, it doesn't matter. They're all in the uniparty. In the UK, we have the fake Conservatives and Labour. They're both the same. You know, you have in Canada the fake Conservatives and Liberals. They're both the same. In Germany, the fake, you would see CDU and then the SPD. They're both the same. Throw in the Greens and the Liberal Party as well. They're all the same, and they all facilitate replacement migration, which means lots and lots of military-aged men who are often violent coming into Western countries. And that's what's driven the increase in crime. So now the government says, we've got a problem. Crime has gone up threefold in the UK. We need now facial recognition technology to catch these criminals and make you all safe. When actually what they could do to make the country safe is to deport all of the military-aged male criminals that have come into the country over the last 10 years and control the borders and stop any more coming in. But they all insist, no, we can't do that. And the border to the UK is wide open. Even though we have a 20-mile moat around the nation, if Poland can control its borders, the UK should be able to control its borders. I mean, I'm laughing just because it's so ridiculous, but it's not funny at all, because fake Conservatives and Labour together have not done anything to control our borders and to stop the flow of potentially violent criminals coming into the country from other countries where there is a problem with violence and rates of violent crimes in some of these countries have always been way, way higher than they are in the West. And the worst of some of these countries are now coming to Europe and the West, UK, and are causing this problem with an increase in violent crime. So the solution they're offering is live facial recognition technology, which they're going to now install permanently for the first time in Croydon. After, before this, it's just been mobile vans that they have, and they park up and then they monitor an area for a few hours. But this is going to be permanent 24/7 monitoring of everybody who goes to these areas in Croydon. Now they say they're only going to be switched on if there's a police officer in the area. Yeah, well, if you believe that, you believe anything. I would put that in the realm of misinformation, obviously, because if they've got something there, they're not going to switch it off. I mean, seriously, you just simply can't believe these people. So this needs to be stopped. The thing is, because it's a new technology, there is no regulation for it. And of course, this is one of the things about common law that we need to be vigilant about, because in common law, of course, everyone is allowed to do anything they want as long as it's not harming another living man or a living woman. So this applies to people. But when it's the state should be restricted in what it can do, and the state should not be allowed to invade the privacy of other people, of individual people, against their will and without their knowledge. So while this is unregulated, and while living men and living women should have the freedom to do anything, provided it's not harming anybody else, the police forces need to be very, very tightly and strictly controlled in what they can do, so they don't infringe on the freedoms and the privacy of living men and living women within the jurisdiction of the realm. So we do need regulations against the police and police forces to stop them using this technology. And obviously, if they bring it in and this carries on and escalates, then we will find that ultimately this isn't going to be used to protect us against criminals. They could do that already. It's going to be used against people who oppose the agendas and the narratives of the globalists, who are trying to control and manipulate everything that goes on in every country in the world and every individual and all of their finances and take away our freedom. So we need to make sure that this technology, sorry, is stopped, and the police need to be regulated in their use of this. And I guess everybody should be. Just because something exists, we shouldn't be able to use it in order to harm people and infringe upon their freedoms. We need to make sure that our freedoms are guaranteed and affirmed. This is the situation. We need to write to our MPs to express our concerns. Some of them might listen. Some of them might actually understand your points. Probably most of them won't if they're in the Uniparty. But this is something that is another weapon which is being forged against ordinary men and women in our nation that we need to be aware of and fight against. And obviously, if you want to take action politically, come and join me in the Heritage Party, and we will guarantee our heritage of freedom and the right to live a life of privacy without the state looking at you and surveilling you and collecting data on you without your knowledge. Thanks for listening, everyone, and God bless you all.